We're going to shift gears really quickly because we're monitoring right now out of Southern California some breaking news of a chase there in Los Angeles. You can see there moving through this intersection about 40 or so miles an hour. Our Fox 11 team might be on it here momentarily. We did see some police cruisers behind them. Not exactly sure what this is about, but all right, potentially a shooting suspect there here in Los Angeles. You can see our helicopter, SkyFOX, right up top, moving to the left in this kind of sedan sort of vehicle, crossing through the yellow line. So Fox 11, and you can see the police right now behind him, monitoring it here live now, turning down a very residential road, going some 30 miles an hour. We don't know exactly what's going on there, but we do have now, we're seeing it, our Fox 11 team in their broadcast. Let's listen in because they'll give us some great context. All right, so this is just a chase, potential shooting suspect there in Southern California. One police vehicle we do see behind it, and generally when you have these, you also have the helicopter high atop, also monitoring this, watching where this is going in LA in Southern California. Very close, right behind him, the police cruiser is in this pursuit in Southern California. So only seen one police behind him. They were on the sidewalk reportedly earlier. We saw that, kind of get an vantage point because sometimes if these chases going now, kind of going down the side, almost on the shoulder of this road, making a hard right turn. There's a second now police cruiser in pursuit of this vehicle. Again, just back and forth down some of these residential areas, and this is concerning given the fact that this is around 3:45 local time, kids potentially getting out of school. That is a problem right now. You saw our feed going in and out just a little bit, but this is what we do, how we track it here in this area. So again, just working to get our Fox 11 team in their broadcast to have it in full, but it's going black, going in and out a little bit, but it will resume this progress, going through some intersections. I'm not sure. It appears they're running red lights or stop signs, which is a problem, which is concerning for the safety of those involved. But this is just a two-lane road, very residential area. I don't see very many people on the side, and now coming through, rolling stop and trying to elude police, and not sure how close they are right now to the highway or any sort of interstate, major interwebs of kind of intersections of Los Angeles. So police pursuit right there, 40 miles an hour. That's not necessarily very fast, but when you're talking about these residential roads, speed limit's likely 25, 30 miles an hour. So still fast enough that it could cause problems if you don't see it coming, you're unaware, and you just see rolling through those stop signs, which is a major, major issue. All right, so all we know right now at this moment is a shooting suspect, a police pursuit in Southern California right now. The shot going in and out right now, so not exactly sure if that's the feed or the location in which they are on, but rolling through those stop signs and a park right there, potentially a school, a middle school, and a speed bump to try to slow it down, but not slowing down this individual in this pursuit of a potentially shooting suspect. So 3:45 local time in Southern California. Generally, when we talk about pursuits, individuals like this go to areas they know. That's what law enforcement, legal experts, law enforcement experts say about this. Just familiarity is something that these individuals who kind of go into this scenario, they rely on what they know or rely on what areas they are most familiar with. So we'll see how close they are to the highway. Sometimes they try to get on the highway, backtrack, going that way to elude police. But only one or two police cruisers behind them at this moment. Not sure if that's Los Angeles or California Highway Patrol. Looks like LAPD for the time being. All right, rolling through this area here in Southern California. Again, 40 miles an hour, but some dangerous moves on the road. moving through some stop signs. So this shot just going in and out. I'm not sure if we lost it for the time being, but our Fox 11 team likely to get right back in that. They're following this from their SkyFOX vantage point. Police helicopter likely also there to give the ground crew some assistance, some support. We do have this shot one more time popping up, so we're going to take you right back out to it of this live event in Southern California in the Inglewood area, a little bit more inland empire. Now you can see opening it up onto a bigger road, almost 70 miles an hour, and one police cruiser immediately behind them. There might be a second one. You can see that just down there to the right portion. That is a police helicopter following, now turning off onto a more residential road. So clearly, potentially, they know where they are or what this neighborhood somewhat might be. So that is something that we spoke to. That's one thing we spoke about. Well, there are some speed bumps in this area to try to slow down drivers. It is not slowing down this individual for the time being. Our Fox 11 team likely to go on air with their coverage. We'll take you out to it as soon as we see it pop, as soon as they can have some more perspective from the ground in Southern California. You can see a car, a white pickup truck, kind of get in front of this individual, slowing them down a little bit, but they're just going across the scene. And that is a dangerous move, heading back onto a more main road, a main strip there. So this started just near Hawthorne, south of downtown Los Angeles. A shooting suspect. I don't know if they're going to pull over now or they're going to stop and go, but you can see people coming out of that store or building of some kind, aware of what's going on. Not sure if they are familiar or aware of who this individual is, but rolling through that intersection right now, just 40 miles an hour. We did see him open it up to about 60 or so miles an hour, keeping these police right behind them. Sometimes we'll see police back off to just keep an eye on it from the air, and now moving across the double yellow line to avoid this light and moving through an intersection. Your heart always stops right there. Sometimes when you go through an intersection, you're not sure what's coming in either direction, if it's a green light or likely a red light in that area. But again, this is the Inglewood area, started near Hawthorne, south of downtown Los Angeles. It is now going on with a potentially shooting suspect making a right turn there onto, I believe that's Marine Avenue, just according to some of the signage on the top of our SkyFOX video coming in. All right, so they're still moving here in this race, still waiting on our Fox 11 team, but going down this row, they're weaving in and out. I don't think I've seen the same two locations in one shot, so it appears that they're not necessarily going in circles, they're going in a direct location, but that's just my vantage point at this moment. They potentially could hit interstate. There's so many different webs of highways in this area, in the Inglewood area. You can see someone trying to get onto this road, but they had to stop. Now trying to elude police here, moving through there, taking this right onto Crenshaw Boulevard in Inglewood. Just 30 miles an hour or so, not moving too high rate of speed, but if this goes on, we are going to continue on. Now we are seeing our Fox 11 team in their broadcast. Let's take you out to it so they give you some local context of where this is and what's going on with it.
Marla Tejas here. It is just speeds about in the 40s, mid 40s. You see, it looks to be a silver sedan making a right turn into this parking lot of a shopping center, perhaps, as we're seeing cars parked there. I'm seeing this for the first time. We're just getting word from LAPD that started in South LA. Obviously, a dangerous person behind the wheel if, in fact, this is a shooting suspect that LAPD is trying to bring into custody on this Wednesday afternoon, approaching the 4 o'clock hour. Looks like we're now in a residential area, West 147th Street and Miller Avenue. We have, joining me on the line, Tim Lynn, law enforcement specialist. Tim, what do you make of this, given the location? We see these homes, the time of day, and then the fact that this could be a shooting suspect behind the wheel.
Yeah, all of that is in play here with these officers from Southeast Division of LAPD in pursuit. Currently here on 147th, coming up on Perchy. This is in the Hawthorne area as he continues eastbound. keeping that all in mind, because this area is very loaded with families and kids getting out of school at this time here at 4 or almost 4 o'clock. Now you're going to have a lot of pedestrians working here, and Van Ness to 146 to going northbound now is a very tight street as it works its way north back towards the 105. So it's just a matter of where's the suspect going to go, but the suspect has been going in circles. You see another left turn here on 144th, and this is a real suburban area, a lot of single-story houses, single-family homes in this area, and so it's just a matter of hopefully nobody else gets involved with this. But when it becomes a shooting suspect, the officers in pursuit have to keep that in mind, because they have, as we always say, more information than we do. And what kind of shooting suspect is this? Was he seen with a gun? Was he shooting the gun in the air? Was he reported to have been, or did there was somebody actually hit? And that is everything that the watch commander is taking in and giving out to the officers who are in this pursuit. And as normal with these pursuits, you have a pursuing unit. You'll have usually 2 patrol units and 1 sergeant following, monitoring the pursuit as he comes back up here. I believe this is going to be, let's see, Rosecrans. Yes, just north. So Rosecrans eastbound. Just circling this one area here in the central part of Hawthorne and just north of Gardena. So it's a similar type of area, and now the officers have to keep track of this person, because I don't believe there's any police helicopters on it yet. I'm trying to check that out. But just a matter of keeping an eye on it, keeping close in case the subject goes to ground, because they're going to guess that he's going to be armed getting out down the wrong side of the street.
A very dangerous situation here. You see 1, 2, 3, 4 cars thinking, what in the world is going on? They see the black and white and probably are putting 2 to 2 together. And this is also very dangerous when the suspects go through shopping centers just to try to evade authorities. Looks like we are getting in the right lane at this point. At least it's not against traffic, trying to look on the bright side of things. So although we say Inglewood on the extreme nav technology, this is more Hawthorne area adjacent to Inglewood. Tim, we're seeing the speeds pick up in the 50s. This is the fastest that we've seen it go thus far. That was one of the things I was going to mention. When we see suspects like this go in the same neighborhood, circling and going back to they were, that usually means that this is where they're familiar. This is where they may know family or friends who can help them evade authorities. And we've seen that play out time and time again in making this dangerous right turn here.
Exactly. And it's just a matter of sticking with the subject on
going against traffic yet again.
Yeah. Right. It's just a matter of the ground unit sticking with it. And I just checked the radar, and there are 2 law enforcement helicopters overhead, LAPD, along with LA County Sheriffs. So they have great air support. And here hooking this turn on to Wilton off of 134. Now, they just have to keep that in mind as they're chasing here. You have all these people out on the road at this time of night and working through these residential areas. You never know what you're going to come up on, but the speeds are really fast here in the 25-mile-an-hour zone. So people who are in this area aren't expecting your car to be coming through at that speed and going through stop signs. So very dangerous, very high potential for a bad crash at the end of this pursuit.
Speeds 40 miles per hour. We talk about what they can do to bring this to an end. What can they do given the tight surface streets, the speeds that we're seeing? Not too bad. We've seen much worse than this. Yes, tight right turn. Fortunately, did not hit the passerby there, that truck. Yes, so let's talk about ways that they can bring this to an end.
Well, a spike strip is one way to do it if it stays in the same area. Now down the center divider here, working its way along El Segundo. And, a spike strip now coming up on a stale red, as we call it, as he pushes through that, running the red light. They can get out ahead because of the circling, maybe put some units out ahead and be able to spike strip him as he turns down one of these residential streets, a little smaller area where they can get it. And then also, too, the pursuing unit gets into a position to when the driver slows down to that speed to where a pit maneuver is authorized, they can do a pit. But the problem with that is, which way is that car going to go? If you take it on the right, it's going to go to the right and possibly put it onto the sidewalk. Or if you hit it from the left, you may send it into opposing traffic. So all that is in the mind of that officer behind him, trying to keep their emotions in check, not racing through intersections with the suspect. But right now, it looks like the suspect is dictating how this pursuit is proceeding, and the LAPD is just sticking right on his tail, just keeping an eye on it, waiting for this car to come to a stop, hopefully not by hitting another vehicle.
You see it there, paralleling, hugging the double yellow. If you're just joining us, this is a pursuit, LAPD in pursuit of a shooting suspect. We have a tighter shot. Looks to be tinted windows, significantly tinted, illegally tinted, as we know that's the case here in California. We want to show some prior video, though, just to show how dangerous this has been, and we're seeing it live too play out. We're going on the wrong side of the road here, so it's a busy time of day. We're approaching the 4 o'clock hour, and we've seen this happen multiple times thus far since the 10 minutes we've been on the air with it, that this driver recklessly going against traffic and narrowly missing innocent drivers. The file video here, the taped recording, that is the bigger image there, live pictures in the smaller upper left-hand corner of your screen. So this is the kind of person that we are dealing with, said to be a shooting suspect, which is our law enforcement specialist Tim Lynn has pointed out. That makes this even more precarious, and that will then dictate how LAPD goes about strategizing to bring this to an end. So multiple times going against traffic, near misses, and we're seeing that happen again in the live picture, smaller picture there, making a right turn here. A whole lot of near misses. It's one of those where you just you pray for the best here for all these innocent drivers out there, Tim.
Yeah, that is a tough seat to be in, and that officer that's directly behind the driver, and then also the tactical flight officer who's overhead watching the pursuit and calling it from above. You saw the LAPD unit just go right through the bottom of the screen. As you can see it coming as a tactical flight officer, when they go through intersections like this, you can see opposing traffic coming, and it's matching, and know way ahead of time that something's going to happen, and that's when the flight officer will then call out, cross traffic for the officers to slow down and not go into the intersection, but there's nothing they can do for the speed of the suspect vehicle. So it's just a matter of luck that being able to go on the wrong side of the street, go through red lights, stop signs, and things of this sort, and not be involved in an accident. So it's just wait and see. LAPD is not going to let this vehicle go. As they normally, if it gets too out of hand, you'll notice that the LAPD, LA sheriffs will back off a pursuit and let the air unit follow it. But because of the background and because of the want on this suspect, they don't want this person to get out of their control. So if a person gets out and starts running, they want to be close
up against the median.
Right.
I wasn't sure if they were going to drive right up on there, but they saw the outlet there making a left-hand turn. It looks to be on South Hoover Street. Again, really tight streets here, surface streets. We haven't seen any of this make its way onto a major freeway. I don't know what's worse, Tim, surface streets or a freeway at this hour?
Well, the freeways are starting to pick up at this hour as commute starts, but I'd much rather see this on the freeway, so you take the cross traffic and the pedestrians out of the mix, and that makes everything a little bit safer for the people on the roads, because once this thing gets into the residential area like it is now, all those other things pop up, and you want to stay as close as you can, but you don't want to go too fast and cause a problem yourself. See, right through a stop sign there, a very large intersection, so just lucky nobody else was coming. But they're just south of the 105 freeway and just to the east of the 110, so there's plenty of freeway options for the suspect. And he was on the 110 earlier in the pursuit coming down out of the Exposition Park area. This is where this pursuit looked like it started. So just staying in the north end of Hawthorne here, down the northeast corner of Hawthorne, working its way back to the west. And it's just a wait and see to see how this will end, because the suspect obviously is not giving up, and the LAPD is not giving up as well.
All right, so for our viewers, as we approach the 4 o'clock hour, we are on the air with this breaking news. Oh my goodness, another close call there going against traffic. An alleged shooting suspect behind the wheel of this four-door silver sedan in the Inglewood Hawthorne area, started in the Exposition Park area, South Los Angeles, and we have law enforcement expert specialist Tim Lynn on the line with me to help call this. We've seen the speeds get as high as 55 miles per hour. So speeds haven't been a major factor, Tim, but nonetheless, given the fact that this is an alleged shooting suspect and we still don't know how many people are inside, there certainly could be more. There is, of course, the assumption that this person is armed. There's always that assumption. We're also hearing reports, and we may have missed it, that something was thrown out of a window. I don't know if you saw that, Tim, but it very well could have been the weapon. Oh, you see, did you see the hand just outside the window? I don't know if anything left the hand or not. I couldn't tell.
No, I couldn't tell either. The shot was a little bit too wide, but something did come out of the driver's hand. But, yeah, it's just a matter of getting intel on this car by the folks back in the station, the watch commander working to figure out exactly what's going on. You have officers probably at the scene of the shooting, if there is a scene, trying to collect information and pass that along. In the meantime, they just stick with the suspect. So, yeah, all those things go through your mind as an officer. You know, how many people are in this car? How desperate is this guy to get away, or this person to get away? But coming up on the red light here, got to force his way. Oh,
gosh, and now slowing down.
That was?
Yep, and slowing down LAPD, but they're through.
Yeah, there was just, 5-second difference. He would have hit those cars had he been 5 seconds later, like the LAPD cars. But that's the job of the officer, to make sure that they have a clear path versus just following the car through the intersection. So a lot of responsibility on that lead unit in this pursuit. But this driver is driving in a somewhat controlled manner. I've noticed just watching his mannerisms and the way he's handling the car, not really going that fast. I mean, 45, 50 miles an hour on these streets, 35 zones basically up in this area of town, is not really too fast for the conditions, and slowing down, coming up on intersections, working its way through versus blasting through an intersection at 70, 80 miles an hour. Definitely trying to prolong this by not disabling his own vehicle, but right now, wrong side of the street, through a red light, just a matter of luck right there, just a matter of luck. And Western is one of the major thoroughfares that goes through Hawthorne and then heads down south as he continues on. Once he crosses over Rosecrans, he'll be in Gardena. So, it's just pushing through and staying pretty much in this same area. I've looked at the path of the pursuit, and it looks like it's staying within about a 2-mile box within Hawthorne, Gardena. So, as we found, they try to stay in familiar area because they have some place to run once they get out. They have maybe a safe house they can run to with friends or family and get away from the officers quickly and get into a residence where they can't be found. But fortunately, with the 2 air units overhead, that option is pretty slim for getting away, because you're going to have 4 sets of eyes on you as you get out of that car, or 2 sets of eyes as you get out of that car, with the 2 observers in watching this on camera as well as on infrared. Even during the day, they'll use the thermal camera because it makes it a little bit easier. But here, turning on Rosecrans and heading out to the west. So staying in the Hawthorne area here, right on the south border up as he works his way along. And so just a matter of time to figure out how this is going to play out, but the suspect obviously not giving up.
And Tim, talk about when you have identified basically this 2-mile radius in which the suspect is doing a box, if you will, going in circles. LAPD, they do their best to get ahead of it, right, and strategize, and so they could have another unit ahead trying to predict the next move, at which point there then could be spike strips waiting for the suspect, as we're now up and over the curb, sidewalk, through a U-Haul, looks like to be a U-Haul location there, back on Venice Avenue, doing their best to strategize and as I said, predict the next move.
Yeah, they'll start positioning. Units are listening to this. They know the area real well. They listen to what streets is on. We've been on Venice before, around the 139, 140s. And they'll start parking in the area, start setting up, throwing something else out, or throwing gang signs, or just flipping his hand out. They'll position in the area. And they know the area. They'll set up, and if they can set up in what I call a choke point, where the street is pretty tight and there's not avenues of escape, they'll try to be ready with a spike strip there just in case he goes down that street. And now turning here on 135, it's just a matter of time. We watched that the other night where they just sat out, and you'll start seeing police cars just sitting stationary. And another thing they do is they will get to the major intersections, and as the car comes towards the intersection, the officer will just turn on his lights and siren to stop all traffic to prevent somebody from getting broadside going through the intersection. So they'll stop traffic in that intersection, let the suspect go through, and then reposition themselves for the next intersection. So you'll see that every once in a while where they'll just freeze traffic and try to get the people to stop so they don't get hit. So, and also be available when this person does decide to go to ground and start running. They're in the area to be able to set up a perimeter very quickly. And so we're back on Crenshaw here, 135th. We've been up and down this street several times as well. So being ready and poised in the area. So you're going to have LAPD, probably 77th Division, Southwest Division or Southeast Division is going to be here, along with Hawthorne PD and Gardena PD, all taking care of their areas and being ready to assist at a moment's notice. The only problem with up in LA County is that the departments cannot communicate with each other. They're on different radio frequencies. They don't have the capability of talking to each other. Here into a parking, at least pulling up into a parking lot, you see the officer not taking the bait going up there with them. So you try not to chase into an area where you might get yourself jammed in. So now coming right back out and picking up the primary position again. But they have to go through dispatch. So they're listening to, dispatch is listening to it, then rebroadcasting that information to their officers from Gardena, from Hawthorne. Of course, LAPD can hear all divisions on theirs. So there's a little bit of coordination going on. You may have the sheriff's area unit, who is the high ship, broadcasting on the South Bay frequency, so the locals can hear what's going on with LAPD. So a lot of coordination goes on in these pursuits. A lot of back and forth talk, a lot of coordination between allied agencies. And like I said, setting up in the areas, if they stay in that little box, pretty much they'll have that place saturated in case he decides to get out and run. So right now, back on Rosecrans through Hawthorne, working way back towards the 405.
Looks like LAPD getting a little bit closer there. We've seen that, though, as we've watched this pursuit. We've been on the air since about 3:45 with this latest pursuit of an alleged shooting suspect in the Hawthorne-Inglewood area. That's where this driver has just maintained essentially a 2-mile radius going in a box, if you will, just trying to stay out of handcuffs across the double yellow. We see that really busy intersection here, West Rosecrans Avenue and Prairie Avenue. Yep. Able to make that.
I was just going to say. Just imagine you're making that left-hand turn from southbound Prairie to Rosecrans, not expecting to go head-on with a car coming at you. So, I mean, that's the thing, that the problem you have here is a lot of folks on the road, none of which know what's going on, using here the streets and the parking lots, and you have folks out walking and then bouncing back out onto Rosecrans, heading in the opposite direction. So, yeah,
it becomes
that's where we.
It becomes a spectacle when we are on the air with these, in that, more people get word of another pursuit, and before you know it, people are out there almost fanning over the whole thing, where we've seen that happen, where people will, if they're in the same area anyway, people will go out their front door to see the action for themselves, which we do not advise, right? Because you do not want to become or fall victim to a pursuit.
Yeah, that's right, because when they go through neighborhoods like this, around in circles, back and forth, and they're there for quite a while, there is just a massive amount of sirens, so people come out to look to see what's going on. And then, coming through with social media and also the streaming services, they can watch the pursuit, and as it comes towards them, they like to, get out there and see it or watch it go by. But this is an unscripted actions here. There's no plot here where you're not going to become part of the problem if this person decides to get out and run. And then if this driver disables this car, there's nothing stopping them from jumping out and stealing your car and driving away with it, or running into your house to take cover. So best bet is to stay in your house, watch it on TV if you want, but don't go outside, because at that point, did they come to an end and shots will be fired, and now you're in the way, and you're possibly become a victim of this. So this is not something that, it may look like TV, but it is not. It's real life, and a lot of things happen here that you cannot reverse at the end.
You do not want to become collateral damage in any of these pursuits that we cover. We bring this on the air to you so that it's a public service, public safety issue here, especially this time of day. I mean, just after 4 o'clock. And yes, the roads are busy, but of course they're going to get busier as people get off work. If you want to just say traditionally at 5 o'clock, obviously there'll be more vehicles on the road. Kids get out of school this time of day, and we're making a close right turn, able to avoid another collision there. This is Crenshaw Boulevard circling. Looks like we'll cross over the double yellow, maybe. We've seen that happen multiple times. We've seen multiple near misses. No actual damage to any other vehicles, no crashes. Thank goodness. Happy to be able to report that. Speeds picking up in the 50s now. That's about the fastest we've seen this pursuit suspect go thus far. LAPD, the lead agency. There are airships overhead. LAPD has their helicopters above. Of course, we have SkyFOX able to bring you these live pictures. West Rosecrans Avenue, and this is, again, the fastest that we've seen this driver go, thankfully, in the 50s. And traffic has been heavier at times on these surface streets, going the wrong way, Tim, and fortunately, no other oncoming vehicles.
Yeah, exactly. It's when he goes on the wrong side of the street like that, especially coming up on intersections, is when you're really opening yourself up for a crash. And that officer doing a great job holding back and letting the suspect go, giving him room to maneuver, and also for the people that he's going by to have a place to go versus running into two cars. So coming down through Perchy here, this is, like I said, still in the Hawthorne, now coming Lawndale area as he continues south. I know the Sky Tracker is saying to Inglewood, but I'm very, very familiar with the South Bay, having grown up there. So it's kind of an old home week for me here. But just that officer has to keep his emotions in check as you drive along and try not to let that adrenaline build up to where you start getting what's called tunnel vision, or we sometimes call and when you're training a new person, don't stare at the bumper because that's all you're looking at. You have to look around the surroundings, look for those pedestrians on the road, looking down to the left as you come up to the intersection, make sure nobody's coming, watching the sidewalks, watching the other drivers on the road, as well as keeping track of this car. So
wrong way.
A lot going on. Yeah, wrong way. Got to work this way coming up to the intersection. Oh,
that was very close.
Right there.
Yes.
Yeah. And so through there and up on Dan S. And so we're back on Dan S. We've been on Crenshaw. We've been on Inglewood. We've been on Prairie. So all the major streets, north, south through Hawthorne, and then crossing over the numbered streets. He's definitely staying in that 2-mile box, as I said earlier. But, there's almost so much luck you have in a pursuit, and the officer behind him has to keep that in mind. And going through the emotions, look like we're coming into a park area here. I'll see if he's going to grab curb there the way he swerved. But keeping emotions in check, the officers behind keeping up, as well as also the sergeant watching everything going on. If it gets to a point where it becomes too dangerous,
getting closer,
then that sergeant will pull it. I'm watching to see if he's going to try. That officer's going to try to do a pit maneuver, but right now speeds are a little bit too fast. And also, in a residential area like this, it's really not really good because you don't know where the kids are. You don't know where the people are. There's so much more possibility of somebody standing in a yard, on a driveway, or things of that sort that you just do not see. Now, out on a major street like El Segundo, plenty of room to get to it and get it around and not even get to the curb. But, yeah, working this tight area, the residential area up here just south of El Segundo, this is a very, very heavily populated single-family area with lots of kids and lots of people out. So it's just good
see, there was the black and white sort of waiting there.
Right. Trailing, and they're only authorized so many units in a pursuit at a point, and that's all determined by the on-scene sergeant and the watch commander. And so they will just, like I said, park around the area and try to be available for when this goes to ground, to be able to set it pit or that perimeter. So, but this officer does look like he's looking and trying to gauge it for a pit maneuver, but we'll see what happens here. But it's very, very tough to do in these neighborhoods, because that would be what would be going through my mind right now. Do I want to send this person around and send him towards one of the sidewalks on either side?
Right.
Like I said, it's always going to be that one person you do not see that she's spinning them into.
It looked to me on that one angle that there is not a passenger in the front seat anyway. There very well could be somebody in the back seat, but maybe that was just a reflection. But my initial response or reaction was, oh, there's no one in the front seat, passenger seat. Again, we're dealing with an alleged shooting suspect. LAPD on this one here, picked up in South Los Angeles, now in the Hawthorne, Inglewood, Lawndale neighborhood, about a 2-mile radius that this person is driving, and doing so mainly in speeds in the 40s. We saw it got close to 60 miles per hour just a few minutes ago, but that was the fastest that we have seen it, sticking ultimately to the surface streets. And this is going to become an issue more and more as it gets later in the afternoon. Backed up intersections, hugging the curb here, choosing to make a right turn. Southwestern Avenue, West El Segundo Boulevard, major thoroughfares here. We're going across. We're in the turning lane now. We've seen that this driver not afraid to go into oncoming traffic, near misses left and right, but fortunately no crashes to report. Tim, we've seen these go on and on and on, and then suddenly something happens where inside they may be coordinating with a loved one, or they just get tired, they pull over and just make a run for it. None of that surprises me if that happens at any given moment.
Yeah, we've had that happen before on pursuits, where they have a secondary vehicle waiting for them when they run, or they have somebody else at the end of this. They tell them where they're going to end up and try to, help them get away and things of that sort. There's all kinds of things that you have to deal with at the end of this. So right now, it just looks like the driver is just trying to stay within a familiar area and maybe come up with a plan once they get out. But the main job is their main thing that they're thinking is, I just don't want to go to jail, and they're going to just delay the inevitable here as they continue on. But putting a lot of people in harm's way by driving even at these very controlled speeds. And like I said, the driver's doing a pretty good job of keeping it under control and keeping things easy to where they come up on intersections and things of sort to where they give themselves the ability to maneuver and stop to keep from hitting somebody, versus with the wild ones we see where they go blasting through. But right now, the police departments are all poised and ready for this person to stop. It's just a matter of where he stops. Is it someplace in front of a family home, in front of friends' homes, where there's going to be a lot of people come out, and then they run into that group. And we've seen that to where they've taken off, and there's this ton of people standing on the sidewalk watching, and they go running through those people. And now the officers not only have to protect themselves going through the crowd, they're also trying to stay in contact. And the person is trying to run to a known spot where they can hide or conceal themselves and hopefully get away. But unfortunately, with the 2 helicopters overhead, that's going to be a real tall order to pull off. But, people do a lot of weird stuff on these pursuits, and continuing to run like this when we watch it and think there's no possible way they're going to get away, in their mind, I'm going to get away. And that's what you're dealing with as an officer.
And we are hearing, and not confirmed, but we are hearing that it is just the suspect. Oh gosh, dangerous intersection maneuver there at 120th Street in South Normandy. That it is just the suspect inside this sedan, silver sedan, and so I mean it's better. It's better if it's just one person and not more than one. We see some movement out of the driver's side window there. There have been reports that this person may have thrown a weapon out, potentially a gun, knowing that it is an alleged shooting suspect. That wouldn't be all that surprising. If, in fact, that was the case, though, Tim, and they did throw out a gun, are there other units looking for that weapon right now, or will that take place once the suspect is in custody?
No, somebody would be assigned immediately to recover that because one, oof, boy, Western is a pretty quick street here. Yeah, one of the officers or one of the units in the pursuit or trailing the pursuit will be directed to go and find that. And what the good thing with the technology and the helicopters now is they can do what we do in the news media, roll back and look at the footage and tell them exactly where the gun is. If you saw it pop out, you can do a replay, look and tell them it's behind this car or next to this pole, and they're able to go recover it because, one, you don't want it taken by anybody or child get a hold of it, but it's also evidence of this shooting, and you want to get custody of that as quickly as possible. So, yeah, they will assign somebody immediately to that to go recover that weapon, so it's not just left to stay out there.
Right. And end up in more bad hands, if you will.
Right.
We want to show our viewers, Tim, one of the recent near misses. This happened not long ago on 135th Street. Here it is, the bigger picture. 136th and Van Ness Avenue. Blowing through that intersection, quick little near miss there. We've seen this happen multiple times going against traffic. Oh, threading the needle as we are showing that to you again. That's the phrase that you used, Tim. We've seen this driver, pursuit suspect, thread the needle multiple times. The smaller picture there is the live picture. So we're sticking in the same neighborhood. It's hard to tell from our live picture is how many LAPD officers are assigned to this. I know you said that there's only a certain number of units. Does that pertain to, is that the same for each pursuit by LAPD, or is it dependent on the situation?
It's dependent on the situation, the number of suspects in the vehicle, things of that sort. And the sergeant on scene will make that call, or the unit. If the primary unit, the first unit behind the car, will request additional. Man, see, it's just all luck getting through these intersections. That was a pure red light. And it looks like there's only one unit stayed up with it. So
right?
The other units have been peeled off a little bit. So they're going to play catch up here. But this one officer staying right with them. But the officer in front can call for additional units, and he'll base it on how many people are in the car, what type of things are happening, what is they want on this suspect. You don't want to be caught short on a situation like this because if they do come out shooting, you want more of the good guys with guns than the bad guys. So the last thing you want is to come up short there. So it's all that stuff goes on during the pursuit with that sergeant who's in the pursuit with them watching and making the calls for more units to roll in. But you're only once you're authorized to be in the pursuit, only those units are allowed to be in. You just can't willy-nilly join in and have a train of 15 units chasing it. Every once in a while you do see that, but that sergeant's that's their job to back out the other units to get them out of the way. But yeah, bouncing through these speed bumps through on Daphne here on 141. It's just like I said, they put those bumps there to slow people down, and now you have this pursuit coming through your neighborhood. And so that shows you what the problem is here with having any type of speed, but you have this suspect going much faster, a lot of turns and moves
back on
here,
Perchy.
Working through. Yeah, back on Perchy, and it's all in the same area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so now the window's down, and yes, you could just sort of see the legs of this pursuit suspect through this through the passenger side window here. Tinted windows, close up here, Perchy Avenue and Ardith Avenue. Is this technically the Hawthorne area then, even though it says Inglewood?
It is Hawthorne.
Okay.
Yeah, over in the very far east end of it.
The other thing I wanted to point out is clearly that this person, and this is no surprise, knows this area really well, because what we've seen in situations like this, when they're, sort of blindly turning left and right, as now we're overhead these apartment complexes here. Let's see if they come out on the other end, or maybe this is where that person is going to try and park and make a run for it.
It's a dead end. In fact, goes right up to the sludge control.
That's literally what I was just going to say. We've seen situations where they get caught in a cul-de-sac. And so, yes, you see LAPD officers out running, and you see is that the same? Oh, okay, so the sedan did stop. Hands out.
On the left or right-hand side, yeah.
Yep. Now we're seeing that pursuit suspect, shooting suspect, exit the vehicle. This is all normal protocol at this point with the officers Guns.
They're going to go ahead. Yeah, they're going to go ahead and have one or two officers keep watch on the car. One officer will give the verbal commands for the suspect to get out, raise his hands, face away from the officers, and then possibly reach down and pull up their shirts so they can see if there's anything in the waistband. Yet additional officers off to the side waiting to react if the person takes off running. Now he's following commands.
Okay.
Hands are up facing the officers.
So this
around.
is in Hawthorne, Perchie Avenue, and Ardith Avenue, and this is the whole point that I was going to make, is that usually if a person knows the area, they tend to not end up in a dead-end situation, but that's not the case here. Even though it seemed that this person, this shooting suspect, did know this area, ended up down a dead-end street, forcing this person to pull over, and now hands up. We're about almost 45 minutes into this pursuit, and it looks like, Tim, that he is obeying officers' orders.
Yes, he is. Luckily, that's a good thing, because he'll dictate what happens here. Now, falling down to his knees, get across his legs so he won't be able to run out. They're going to get him all the way down. So have him wait there. Now, the rest team with 4 officers will pull up to him, and another officers will keep an eye on the car, because you never know what might be laying in the back of that car. And so they're going to keep a close eye on that. And everything now is slowed down. There's no need to rush. Get your arrest team together and move up slowly on the suspect, keeping an eye on that car. They may even clear the car before they clear the suspect. So that's what's going on back here behind the doors. They're deciding what they're going to do or how they're going to do it. Looks like they're going to clear the car first.
Okay.
That's always a good move, because you get up there next to the suspect and somebody's in that car, you're out in the middle of nothing, out in the middle of the open there, and you don't want to be there. So once they clear that car, they'll give the signal back to the other officers, and they'll go up and take custody of the subject on the ground.
So they're clearing the vehicle, which we've seen happen multiple times before. Well, actually, you know what? I don't know if I've seen that happen. Usually they take the suspect into custody and then they clear the vehicle. But nonetheless, it is the mission is the same, to make sure that the scene is safe. And they obviously feel confident that the suspect's not going to take off and run for it, huh?
Correct. Yeah, because that can happen. You can be laying there nice and calm, and all of a sudden just spring to their feet and take off. That's why you watch them. Sometimes they'll tell them to cross their legs, and what that does is slows that motion down. Here comes the arrest team to take him into custody.
And at this point, they still have to check the trunk.
Always do that, because you never know what might be in there. He may have triggered that trunk lid just as he got out, and so you don't know what may pop out of there. You think of all possible scenarios, and because if you're ahead of the game, that's a lot easier to slow down than try to catch up. So looks like this is going to end.
All right, just a safe conclusion, a good conclusion there for law enforcement in Southern California, leading this individual away. The shooting suspect, as this started in Hawthorne, really making circles around that area near Inglewood. So a conclusion there to this police chase, as we do it live, raw, and uninterrupted coverage from Southern California of that developing story. All right, we're going to continue to follow it here on Live Now from Fox, any other developments that come of it. Let's take you out right now, out to Tucson, Arizona, after this quick 2-minute break on what we know in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, a major headline around the country. We'll be back after this.